Spencer Pratt posting another banger of a campaign ad, this time riffing off the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song. But sadly, it didn't look like some in Hollywood are ready to go down with California's socialist sinking ship. Celebrities like Mindy Kaling, Colin Jost, and Tina Fey all lining up behind far-left candidate Nithya Raman, like the noodle. And Chelsea Handler couldn't resist slamming Pratt for being a straight white male.
If you're seeing this video, this is a reminder that a straight white male, former reality star that has no previous experience in government, should not be a legitimate political candidate.
Meanwhile, LA Mayor Karen Bass trying to stay in the fight with her latest proposal to fight criminals with solar panels.
We have a terrible problem in LA with copper wire theft, which means our street lights go out all the time. Well, about a month ago, I've rolled out a plan to install 60,000 solar lights, moving away from copper. I think that he is tapping into a general sense of anger that people have, not just in Los Angeles, but in many other places around our country.
All right, Kennedy, you've been following this very closely. A big weekend in the race.
Why are people angry in Los Angeles? That's so weird. Actually, Karen Bass, I have been all across the country, especially recently. I've lived in Los Angeles the better part of my adult life, and I will tell you, people are angrier there than they are anywhere else in the country. And they are no angrier than in Pacific Palisades, where, like Spencer Pratt, they have been displaced. And under your mayorship, insurance companies, they don't have to pay for people to rebuild their homes. And they know the longer they delay, the more likely people are to take settlements that are pennies on the dollar, that are a pittance for anything that would actually allow them to rebuild their homes and their lives. There are so many people in Los Angeles who don't have to live in Pacific Palisades who feel that anger every single day because their kids are in schools with adults who don't know how to read. Traffic is horrible. There's no way the city's going to be ready to host the 2028 Olympics. And the people who are running against Spencer Pratt are mental deficients who are incapable of having another debate. So yes, people are angry, and they are angry because of you. They are angry because of your empty reservoirs, because of the proliferation of homelessness, the rapes that are going on in Skid Row, and the animals who are being abused under your watch. You are doing nothing to solve problems and cool the anger. You can take those solar street lights and shove them where the sun don't shine.
Dana, of all the wacky ideas we've heard, we've had the solar panel street lights to fight crime. We've had the barbecue ban and the free teeth for homeless. What is your favorite?
Of all those?
I know it's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I'll go with the solar panels if I had to choose. I think that we're witnessing something which is something we've asked about other places, which is at what point have people had enough? And are they willing to look at something different? So if the worst thing Chelsea Handler can say about Spencer Pratt is that he's a straight white male and that he doesn't have political experience, then he's doing something right. Last week, I was in Houston, Dallas, Chicago, and St. Louis. At each book tour stop, if I did a Q&A, I got asked about Spencer Pratt. I got asked about redistricting, who was going to run in 2028 on the Republican side. And the third question would be about Spencer Pratt. Why? Well, okay, so he's doing something different. He's figuring out a way to communicate to people in a different way. Who else did that? A recent mayor, mayoral candidate who became mayor, Mamdani. He barely won. Mamdani squeaked in. And Spencer Pratt is coming at a time when his numbers, if you look at the number of Republicans versus Democrats, yes, of course, he's behind. But is he running the type of campaign that could do what Mamdani did in New York and just flip that? If you just have to get a little bit past 50%.
Let's ask the straight white male at the table.
Where is he? I get the feeling like Karen Bass heard Kamala Harris and said, "No bad ideas."
Yeah.
And then Kamala heard it and goes, "Okay, that was a bad idea." I love that Chelsea Handler was encouraging her fans not to vote for Pratt. Takes a lot of ego to use the plural for fan. I don't even know what she does. Bass accuses Pratt of coming from a place of anger. So it makes me think, who are the people that aren't angry?
Right.
Like who's, okay, I'll give you the homeless. It's the greatest place in the world to be homeless year round. You could do your drugs outside. You could sleep anywhere. It's a great climate. So they're just really happy. But you know who else isn't angry? People like Chelsea Handler, people like Mindy Kaling and Colin Jost and Tina Fey. These are wealthy white folks whose homes didn't burn down. They never have to worry about safety or security or gas prices or druggies on their lawn, which is why these people have the luxury to indulge surface issues, sexual identity, gender and race, climate puffery, if you will. The whole thing's a circle jerk of elites, you know, who will vote for anything that doesn't affect them except for their status. Colin Jost, do you remember this guy? He lives in New York. All right. He spent $300 grand on a decommissioned ferry that he wanted to turn into a bar. That was his money. He sunk it, said it was the worst decision of his life. And then he's telling people 3,000 miles away whose houses burned down that he knows better for them. When he made the choice to destroy a piece of property, he can go tell people whose destruction was out of their hands. Tina Fey also lives in New York. Mindy Kaling lives in a mansion in Hancock Park. These are people that are able to ignore other people's suffering because it's far enough away from them that it doesn't matter. They don't know anybody that was affected by this, or they never would say this stuff. I put a challenge to them. Tell me the people that you know that suffered, and then tell me who you vote for, creeps.
Okay, and get that to us by 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, or else, and if it comes after 5, I'm not going to read it.
Harold, you were a big Fresh Prince fan back in the day.
It was.
That was a nice ad.
It was. I'd say this guy's creative, and it's obviously, you see why people around the country are talking about him. But you look at Los Angeles, and I think Kennedy said it so well. They're at a crossroads in terms of cost of living and the quality of living. You're losing businesses. You're losing wealthy taxpayers. You have a homelessness issue. You have a crime issue, public safety issue. You have a housing and healthcare costs are out of control. This is a moment where you find politics sitting upside down. And I've tried to say to my friends out there, that Democrat friends, if you don't begin offering answers, offering solutions, and stop attacking him, you could very well find yourself in a position where there's a bit of an uprising. Los Angeles and California, you guys have a history of electing people outside of the norm. Schwarzenegger should not have won. He was a Republican. He won at a moment of crisis there in California. Even Dick Riordan, who was a moderate Republican, won at a time in which you didn't have white men being elected mayor of Los Angeles. This is a moment here in Los Angeles, and I'm rooting for answers. Some around the table may have their part of it, but I understand why people are attracted to this guy. I left Syracuse. I was in Syracuse for a day this week with my daughter for a soccer game. I stopped, and gasoline was $4.59. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. You don't want that. In Los Angeles, there are specific issues, and if all we can do is talk about him being a terrible guy, him being supported by this person, him being a white male as a disqualifying factor, we deserve to lose if we end up losing this thing.
All right, well said, Harold.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.